Welcome to the Connection Revolution podcast. I'm so thankful that you're joining us today. We have an outstanding guest with us today. His name is Rob Wegner. Rob, great to have you with us, as I said. And I just invite you to start by just introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about your journey with the Lord over these years and kind of what's brought you here to where you are today.
Yeah, you bet. It's great to be with you guys. Rob Wegner. I'm a ragamuffin like you guys who's found grace, and I live to love Jesus, my wife Michelle, and our three adult daughters, Madeline, Whitney, and Belle, and also our extended spiritual family, which has emerged in our neighborhood where we live here in Western Shawnee. That's our home base. I grew up in the south suburbs of Chicago. And, I met Jesus when I was a kid. I remember having spontaneous conversations with God as a little kid, playing outside, feeling aware of his presence. But it wasn't until my early teen years, I guess you could say I had sort of an early existential crisis. Y'all may have had to read the book Catcher in the Rye in American Lit. I was a bit like Holden Caulfield. I could feel the phoniness and see the phoniness all around me, and I could feel it in myself. And I was very much a chameleon. I could wear the right masks at the right moment. I could flow with all these different crowds, the jocks, the
Mm.
stoners, the church kids. And underneath, I was empty. I was aching. And I remember one night in my bedroom, I cried out, God, if you're real, fill this emptiness. And that weekend, I was over at my sister's best friend's house, and her older sister, who I'll say just had caught my attention, was playing some music in her room. And I remember I liked the guitar riff, and I leaned in because like you guys noticed, I love music. And then I realized they were singing about Jesus. And I was like,
Mm.
is this a joke? And she was like, no. And then I was like, oh, no, that's cool. I'm glad they're singing about Jesus. And the next day she actually handed me a mixtape. So this like older woman is giving me a mixtape. That's good. And it was all this rock music by these Christian bands. And
Mm.
I remember going back into my bedroom, the very spot that I prayed, and I dropped it in and hit play. And the
Mm.
first song I'm listening to is about this guy, and the lyrics are about a guy who's wearing masks who feels empty. The
Mm.
chorus, the words are chameleon, you blend with your surroundings, chameleon,
Wow.
no one knows where you come from. And the bridge is, it keeps repeating, come out, come out, come out and be seen. And it was the voice of God. His presence
Mm.
filled the room. And I knew God had heard my prayer. A week later, I was in the gathering of our church Sunday morning, and they announced that they had hired a youth pastor. And this young guy gets up. His name is Dan Goody. There's another guy who came into my life, a guy who is named Brad Wildman, and he was the most passionate disciple of Jesus I'd ever met. And these guys made a world of difference in my life. They showed me that disciple making isn't a class or a program, it's a life. And that youth group that I was a part of really
Mm.
became kind of a mini movement. My now wife, Michelle, was a part of that youth ministry. She was dating another dude at the time, so I kept my distance. But eventually, she went to Moody Bible Institute. I went to Taylor University. We did start dating. We did get engaged. Eventually, when we graduated, um, we knew we were like, hey, we just want to be Jesus revolutionaries. Lord, where do you want us to go? And we ended up joining a church plant that was in South Bend, Indiana. And that's kind of where our journey started post college.
Yeah, no, thanks, Rob. That's awesome. No, we can keep going, or we can stop there. I definitely want to hear about intermission, and I remember that's part of your journey. You can at least reference it. You don't have to talk a lot about it, but I'll just say this: I think that was the context that you and I met.
Yeah, I joke around and say we were a Willowback church. So Willow Creek and Saddleback were very influential. And we really wanted to be a church for the unchurched. And Christians didn't know if we were a cult. They didn't like us because we were doing kind of very what were considered kind of revolutionary or progressive things at the
Yeah.
time. And we reached a lot of people that were far from God, and they would bring their friends and their family. And we there was just a lot of freshly redeemed people. Um,
Yeah.
and that continued year after year. And it felt like a miracle in a cornfield. Um,
Wow.
and we built our first building 10 years in, and it kind of took off like a rocket ship. So it took us about 10 years to grow to be a church of 2,000. And then we grew another 1,000 people in 3 months. And it was like,
Wow.
whoa. But it was also a lot of Christians who started coming. Because it was like, oh, they have a building now. They're legitimate.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah.
You know, and it kept growing so rapidly. And it started to, honestly, it felt like it shifted the culture of the church. And it became more centralized, more platform driven, more programmatic, and it felt like there was kind of this growing gap between those in the ministry and the rest of the body. My role started to shift. So locally, we've become really embedded in one at-risk neighborhood, and we had seen something really beautiful emerge there over the years that had become a community center that was kind of a fusion of community development and disciple making. And then internationally, because of a mentor, we got embedded from kind of ground level, what eventually became a legitimate disciple making movement, church planting movement, Southern India. And that was a game changer.
Yeah.
I mean, watching this simple, spirit empowered, people led movement of people making disciples who were making disciples, that were birthing these very simple expressions of the church, that were multiplying the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 generations. It was like walking around inside of the book of Acts and then coming back to this mega church that God was doing wonderful things in, but it created this growing tension. And I realized, it's like, Lord, I didn't really want this to happen. Like, I inherited a system that I haven't questioned enough. And I think that's true for a lot of church leaders. It's like they got into this because they want to be a part of a Jesus movement, but then there's a system they've inherited. And it's not that volunteerism is wrong, but if it is the end of this mobilization process, then it's a cul-de-sac. And we are domesticating God's people. If it's a part of a larger process that helps people become spiritual mothers and fathers and discover their personal calling and go on to become like a multi-generational disciple maker, then it's amazing, you know? But let's be honest, that isn't what happens 95% of the time. It's been kind of a 20-something year journey since then of going, okay, it's the same God everywhere. Why not here? Why not us?
As the Lord leads, I just encourage those of you watching and listening, reach out to Rob, reach out to KC Underground, get connected with this, because we have structures that we are used to for not just decades, but centuries in our nation for how we do church. And God's still doing great things through that. Okay.
Yes, he is.
Absolutely. But he's doing a new thing. Isaiah 43. He's doing a new thing. Amen. And this is it's such an important expression of a new thing that God is doing. It's ancient but new. It's new and old. But don't miss it, because this is the way forward for a huge way that God seems to be working in our city. And we'd love for all of you who have that interest, at least to reach out and be a part of it. So be a part of KC Underground. All right.
Thank you, brother.
We look forward to when you're back with us next time as the Connection Revolution continues.